You and Your Young Child, a program of information and services available for you and your child from prenatal to age 5. You and Your Young Child has been brought to you in part by Sternberg Museum of Natural History, also by The Dentist.
Yearning to get away for an island adventure? First, visit Fort Hays State University's Sternberg Museum today and see their newest exhibit, Galapagos. The Sternberg Museum is the first venue in North America to host this unique exhibit. Then, in June, travel to the remote islands whose animals helped inspire Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Discover the Galapagos exhibit at the Sternberg Museum today and learn how you can join me on a 10-day island adventure of a lifetime.
Come discover a one-of-a-kind dental center for the whole family at The Dentist. Dr. Melinda Miner and Dr. Michael Holmberg and their warm and friendly staff love working with children of all ages to help keep everyone smile happy and healthy. They recommend children start seeing the dentist by age 1. The Dentist is now accepting new patients, children, and their families. Visit them at 1010 Downing Avenue in Hays or online at thedentistinhays.com.
Hello, and welcome to You and Your Young Child, the program devoted to early childhood. My name is Dana Stanton, and I'm the coordinator of early childhood grants for USD 489. And today I have two guests. First on my left is Michelle Dannels. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
Now, first thing, Michelle, tell us what organization you work for and what do you do there?
I'm with Early Childhood Connections, the 0 to 3 program. I'm actually the coordinator for the childcare that's out at Munger at this time.
Awesome. Now, on my right, we have Jennifer Oborny. Good morning, Jennifer.
Hello.
Now, tell us what organization do you work for and what do you do there?
I'm with Hays Area Children's Center, and I'm the early childhood special education teacher for infants and toddlers.
Okay. Now, today we're going to talk about fine motor skills, and we're kind of broke it up in sections. So Michelle's going to talk about fine motor skills with infants, and Jennifer's going to talk about fine motor skills with toddlers. So the first thing we're going to talk to Michelle about infants and fine motor skills, and what's the best age to start working. Just tell us a little more about infants and fine motor skills.
Well, actually, with fine motor with infants, you can start from the beginning.
From the get-go.
Yes, most definitely, because they're grasping your finger, and they've got that tight grip. So you want to do that, and just giving them toys to even grip and to use their hands is so important at that time. And just anything you can give them to grip is going to be important for them at the beginning. But I do have a couple of toys here too that for little ones that they can start with 0 to 3. I've got a box here to where you can use buttons, or you can use any round material that you want to that they can stick in. This is just a simple little box where they can place their little round things into the spot. You can make it for a little bit older too, where you can put a color here, and you've got a color object that they can match it to for that specific spot. Or you can even go to where you can put numbers here too, where they can put number 3, and then you'll put 3 spots in here, and that will be something that they can go with their numbers as well. So simple little things for fine motors, but you're also working with math skills, and you're also working with colors, so it's something that you can hit several different areas in one little activity, and they enjoy this a lot. Another thing that they can do too for the little ones is that just simple pom-poms, get an empty container, and they can just take those pom-poms out because they're gripping them.
They have to really work at it.
To get it out of there, and then they can stick it back in and push it back in, but that's also developing that fine motor. Anything that they can grasp. And another important thing for little ones is starting to let them feed themselves. The simple little pincer grasp is so important for them for later on, so they can grasp that pencil or that pen or that crayon for later writing skills. That is so important to develop that. Some parents are really scared to let their kids even do the simplest of a Cheerio, or they even have those simple little puffs that little ones can pick up and eat. Yeah. So starting early with that, and a lot of times we start about 5 months, and they can start doing that pincer grasp. If they, if you feel that they're choking, you can even cut them little ones in half, where they can stick them in there and they can mouth them. But the Cheerios are really good because they melt. They kind of get real soft for them. Yeah, but letting them feed themselves is so important at that time, so they can develop that pincer grasp.
So picking up Cheerios is the first step in learning how to maybe use scissors or things like that.
Yeah, most definitely, and holding those implements that are important for, later writing skills, yes.
Okay, I'm going to switch to Jennifer. So we were talking about infants. Now what about fine motor skills with a little older, with a toddler?
They're going to be working on kind of being more precise at putting their items in the holes that you have for different things at the house. We're looking at toys that you already have in the house that are homemade. You already, Pringles cans. We have different Gatorade bottles. And because a lot of times you're going to go out and buy all those expensive toys and they just want to play at the box. So finding those things that are in the house that can encourage that development. So, today I have Pringles can and a hole in there, straws, yep. Using those, and then you can also use your...
And when they fall on the floor, they have to pick it up with their
That's
picture
right.
grab. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and just putting everything in there. Toddlers love to fill and dump. They love to fill things up and dump them out. Fill things up, dump them out. So you're going to see a lot of that repetitive activity also. Another, again with our straws, homemade containers that have little smaller lids for more precise development in there. And then even maybe a larger activity with tongs, trying to, in a ball, they could walk across the room and drop it in a bucket or shoebox or anything at the house, and then working on that grip of also holding onto those tongs and keeping that item in there, or transferring objects to 2 different containers maybe. And that might be another one. Looking at Play-Doh at the home, that's another great hand strengthening activity. And also then maybe using your Legos and pushing these shapes into the Legos and making imprints in the Legos, or in the Play-Doh.
In the Play-Doh.
That's right, I'm looking at my Legos here. But making those imprints in the Play-Doh, and just a different way to use the Legos with Play-Doh play. You can also use scissors with your Play-Doh play also. That might be your older kiddos to do that with. Looking at the stages of scissors with toddlers, you may start with your junk mail that you get in the mail, like
We get plenty of junk mail. Yeah.
your magazine subscription renewal cards. Those are perfect because they're a lot firmer, and so the children can still have that pincer grasp, but we're going to work on ripping and ripping and ripping and ripping. I'm giving them tons of magazines or papers that you don't want to use, and working on those fine motor skills of ripping the paper. And then eventually, kind of like what Michelle had earlier, but you could maybe put some lines on a paper plate or a paper, and working on that next step would be fringing with scissors, of just cutting right on that line and just exploring with those scissors. And then reminding them that their thumb goes in the small hole, thumb's on top, and kind of always giving those verbal cues if they're going to work on using the scissors, that they're using them the appropriate way. I think sometimes parents forget some of those ways to...
Thumbs up on when you're using
Right.
scissors. Yeah.
So I think that's...
Now you've got some books. How would books be used for fine motor skills?
That's kind of going back to our infants, because they're exploring everything with their mouth. And so our soft books, our board books, their mouths are a lot more sensitive at that time. And so that's kind of what they're using to explore their world. So putting all those items and things in their mouth is really, really good for their development.
And I would imagine just the process of turning the page would be another fine motor skill.
Yep. And sometimes these board books are kind of really hard and they stick together. Another way to kind of adapt the books to make them easier to turn, like little Velcro dots, you could put those within there, and so the books would kind of already be separated, the pages, and so they could still get their fingers in there, and you're going to, again, work on that grasp to turn the book.
Well, I'm thinking about when my own children were little. When I would read a book, I would be the one to turn the page. So maybe it should be the infant or the toddler learning how to turn the pages. I think one of the things you're telling us is that you don't have to go out and spend a huge amount of money on new toys. Pringles can, a shoebox, bottles, anything around the house would work. Any final tips for parents?
Just sit down and play with your child, because that's their experience, and they're going to learn that from you.
Any final tips?
Biggest thing I think would be maybe safety, to make sure if you're going to use it with the younger children, making sure the items, you're watching them the whole time, because you just never know what different mouths or ears or nose they could stick various items in.
Yeah, especially, like you're making a slit in a box. You want to make sure that there's no sharp edges or anything that a little one can, hurt themselves on. All right. Well, wonderful information. So we have to get those babies and those toddlers, get their fingers moving.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
You've been watching You and Your Young Child, the program devoted to early childhood. Parents, remember, you are your child's first and best teacher. Thank you.
You and Your Young Child, a program of information and services available for you and your child from prenatal to age 5. You and Your Young Child has been brought to you in part by Sternberg Museum of Natural History, also by The Dentist.